Hi, everyone. I am Stefanie East, one of the journalism instructors here at Troy University. Welcome to J-Day, a little bit different this year, as is everything, but we are excited to be able to do this for you. I hope you've enjoyed all of the stories and all of the videos that you've watched so far. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about telling a story. I spent nearly 20 years in television news, and that is the fun thing about being a reporter and being a journalist is telling stories. That is what you are doing for your audience, whether it is in print journalism, maybe at a newspaper or a magazine, or in broadcast journalism. It might be radio news, it might be television news, podcast. There's all different ways to tell a story, but that is what you are doing for your audience. Sometimes it is what we call hard news stories. Hard news is political type stories, education, breaking news, crime. That's what we consider hard news. And then you've got soft news. Soft news are more feature pieces. Maybe it's a spotlight on a teacher or a spotlight on the puppies at the humane shelter that need adopting. Those are more soft news stories. But basically what you are doing is you are telling your audience a story. Sometimes it's things they need to know about. Sometimes it's things that they may not even know they wanted to know about. That's more of those feature type stories. But we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to tell a good story. And if you guys will give me just a second, I am going to share my screen with you to show you a few things. So how do you tell a good story? We're going to start with the 6 C's. There are 6 C's that can help you write or tell a good story. Now, if you are writing a story, obviously you've got somebody that's reading it, and they can go back and reread if they don't understand or if they get sidetracked. But when you are in broadcast news, you are having to write for somebody who might be doing something while they are listening to you. If it's radio news, they might be driving in their car. If it's television news, they may have the TV on in the background while they're cooking dinner or getting ready for work. So there's different ways that you tell a story in journalism. And my PowerPoint is not working, so hang on just a second. There we go. Okay, so first of all, you want to be clear. You want your audience to understand what you are talking about. And when I say audience, I might mean your readers or your viewers. Readers if you're in print journalism and your viewers if you are in broadcast journalism. But you want to be able to write in simple terms, in understandable terms. We're going to talk more about that in just a minute. You want to be concise, especially when it is in broadcast news. In broadcast news, sometimes you only have 20 to 30 seconds to tell a story. But also when you are in print journalism, you don't have a whole front page to always be able to tell your story. You've got to be concise, and you've got to figure out what details your audience needs to know. It can be very easy to just write everything, to write every detail. The hardest part is to edit it down and figure out what the most important information is that your audience needs to know. And you want to be conversational. That's extremely important in broadcast news. You don't want to use big words that people don't understand. If somebody tells you something in a news story and you don't understand it, well, then you can bet that your reader or your viewer doesn't understand it either. We're going to talk more about that in just a second as well. But you want to pretend that you are telling your friend, your parent, somebody like that, a story, and that is how you are going to write. You want it to be complete. You've got to answer those 5 W's. Who, what, where, when, and why. You don't ever want somebody to get done reading your story or watching your story and for them to go, well, what happened? What was the conclusion? You want them to be able to walk away knowing exactly what that story was meant to be about. So make sure that it is complete. So those 5 W's, don't forget, that's the basics of journalism. Who, what, where, when, and why. It's got to be current. The news is called news for a reason. It's new. You don't want to tell them something that happened a week ago. You've got to keep it current and update your story as it happens. Sometimes you'll have a story in broadcast that might run on the 5 o'clock news, the 6 o'clock news, and the 10 o'clock news. So you've got to stay up to date on what's happening with that story and see if it needs updating for each newscast. You want to make sure that your story is timely and giving your audience, your reader, or your viewer the most current information. And last of all, it's got to be correct. That is a core in journalism. You have got to be correct. You guys think about when Kobe Bryant died in the helicopter crash, and there were all these breaking news alerts coming out and all this stuff on Twitter and Facebook, and some of it was wrong in the beginning. And that is not how we want to do things. That was not a good example of journalism at all that day. You've got to be correct. Nobody will remember if you were first, but they sure will remember if you were wrong. So there are your 6 C's: clear, concise, conversational, complete, current, and correct. So we talked about, let me go to this one actually, we talked about writing conversationally. Guys, I'm having some problems with my PowerPoints. We'll just leave it like this. That's okay. When you're in broadcast news, you've got to go with the flow anyway. So let's look at this. Some of the words not to use and some of the words to use, okay? So a lot of times if you're interviewing a police officer, they'll say something like, the suspect fled on foot. What do you say that? Do you say, I'm late for class, so I fled on foot across campus? No, you say you ran. So use the word ran. Don't say fled on foot. That's not a common conversational term. Transported, that's another one. Do you say my roommate's car broke down, so I had to transport her to work today? No, you say you took her to work or they were taken to work. Same thing with altercation. Do you say that you and your boyfriend got into an altercation last night, or you and your girlfriend got into an altercation? No, you got into a fight. That is the conversational way to write or speak. You also might hear police say, the suspect is still at large. Well, at large, that's not a common term that we use. If your cat or dog runs out of their house and you can't find it, do you say, my dog is still at large? No, your dog hasn't been found yet, hasn't been caught yet. And so same thing when you finally do find your dog. Do you say, I apprehended him down the street? No, you caught him down the street. So think about that when you're writing. Think about some of these words that you might hear a police officer say or a government official say, and then turn it into more conversational writing. Also, when you are a reporter, you've got to find a way to come up with story ideas. Yes, a lot of the times, stories will be handed to you. Especially if there's a big breaking news event happening or a bank has been robbed or something like that. Yes, you know that is a story that you're going to cover. But when you are a reporter, you also have to learn how to pitch story ideas. We call it pitching ideas. And you have to keep your eyes and your ears open because there are story ideas everywhere. In fact, Steve Hartman, one of the best reporters, in my opinion, who works for CBS News, used to do a segment called Everybody Has a Story. And he would find a story anywhere, and you can do it. So here's a look at where you can get some story ideas, okay? This is from NPR. And one of the things they say are place explainers. They say every city has traits, quirks, mysteries, and habits to find those answers to. So you can see there, why does Seattle have so few kids and so many dogs? That's a great story idea. You can also do crowd pleasers. Think about if like the Pee Wee football team has won a national championship, that's a crowd pleaser. Everybody loves to see success. So those are good feeling, heartwarming stories. Curiosity stimulators kind of goes along with place explainers. Maybe there's something unusual in your town or your campus. Think about that. News explainers. So what that does is that takes a complicated issue and explains it for people. You can see their example there, everything you need to know about California's ballot measures. So if you're a voter in California, you need to know about that, right? Also, breaking news. That's kind of like what we talked about before. That's your crime. That's if a plane crashes on campus and you run out to cover the story. That's breaking news. Your feel-good smilers are heartwarming stories. You see those on social media all the time. Like if a service member, a military man or military officer, a man or woman comes home and surprises his or her daughter or son at school, that's one of those heartwarming stories. So those are feel-good smilers. Then you've got your topical buzzers. That's what everybody's talking about right now. So this is a little bit different than breaking news. Breaking news is more like the, crime, plane crashes, whatever. But topical buzzers are what is current right now that people are talking about. So keep your eyes and your ears open about that as well. Provocative controversies. That's when people are kind of mad about something. So let's say that a town is thinking about raising their sales tax and the residents already think it's too expensive to shop. That might be a provocative controversy. And then you've got your awe-inspiring visuals. That's just great video. That is, say there was a tornado and somebody catches a massive tornado on camera. That is an awe-inspiring visual, or a beautiful sunset or sunrise, something like that. People love to see beautiful pictures of their town. So you've just got to keep your eyes and ears open, but there are story ideas everywhere. So now I want you guys to watch. I'm going to share with you one of my favorite stories. I show this to all of my classes. It's a little bit long, but it is such a good story. And when we get done watching it, I want us to talk about some of his writing. The reporter for this story actually won an Edward R. Murrow Award for writing. And this is one of the stories that he submitted for that award. And the Edward R. Murrow Award is one of the highest awards you can get in journalism. So I want to watch this story, and then we're going to talk a little bit about why it was such a good story at the end.
A tiny stand in the parking lot of an Arco station. Becca.
All right, guys, I'm going to start it over since the video was a little low. So here we go.
Is Brew in Bothell.
Hello, how are you?
A tiny stand in the parking lot of an Arco station. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, and they start showing up.
Oh, hi. We have balloons for Will today.
They come from all directions with gifts and kindness.
His world is different than ours, and his smile makes our world a better place.
There are children with homemade cars.
We were talking about our birthday parties this morning and how everyone should get a birthday party.
And there are cakes, big decadent cakes and signs.
It's wonderful. Everyone just came together and made this happen.
That's Becca. She's responsible for all of this. It's such a big deal, the cops are even here.
We're honored to be here for Will. It's great.
The times that I've come by here, Will's been hanging out, and I think he's a pretty cool guy.
All of it is about a guy named Will.
We sit and talk, and it's like I'm literally just in awe of him. He finds the smallest things to be happy about. He finds joy in everything.
So who is Will, and why do so many people want to make him happy? The short answer is he is a guy with challenges who faces them head on and manages to insert himself into the world with his own unique brand of exuberant dignity.
This is so cool.
One day he showed up here at Becca's Brew. Becca liked him, and she offered him a deal.
It's like, how about this? If you come here every day and you talk to me for like an hour or two, you can have whatever you want. You can have any drink. And so that's how it started. He started coming every day, and then it was like a couple hours, and now it's like a whole day, which is awesome.
Becca, you see, understands things. In Will, she recognized a heart that is pure and true.
You just can't help but feel better after you talk to him for a couple minutes,
Hi.
He greets customers.
Hello.
Becca makes him a different flavored drink every day.
What is this? Okay. It's a good one. Well, my first one went great, and it's fun having you here, and had a great day, and had a good time here, and paid me a lot of money.
Becca pays Will a few bucks a day.
Well, I just take out the garbage, take out the trash, just hang out, talk.
Remember which garbage to go in?
Small one.
You can sign him out, okay?
Okay.
Thanks, buddy.
Kids, don't try this out. Bullet professionals do this too, okay? That's a good one. Open the lid. Look at this recycling stuff. So we're going here.
A while back, Becca noticed something that troubled her a lot.
It bothered me so much, like how Will was like being ignored by people. I would see it through like at the gas station, and then that one customer that was extremely disrespectful to him. And I was just like, you know, he's just like a regular person, like trying to have a conversation and is extremely nice, and people just like ignore him like he like has like some kind of disease or something like all over him. You know, I'm just like, what is wrong? Like, you know.
She wrote something on a neighborhood blog. She mentioned his birthday, and Bothell rose to the occasion in dazzling fashion.
Okay, he's coming. Everyone behind the stand. Behind the stand.
And so on this, his 31st birthday, Will was led blindfolded to his favorite place. He pulled off the blindfold. Will was overwhelmed for a moment, and then,
Thank you, guys. Happy birthday. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's awesome.
everyone just stood there, watching his happiness pour out.
It's so cool.
Denise watched through tears. One guy who's seen a lot couldn't get enough.
I think this is amazing. This is why I moved here.
Will kept giving the same speech over and over.
Thank you so much. I'm speechless, guys.
Someone gave him some flowers for Becca.
I love you, Becca. I'm ready to go.
And then he was gone. Will has a thing for police officers and sirens.
Siren or no siren?
Siren.
So they gave him a ride. While Will was gone, neighbors introduced themselves and lingered around Becca's brood.
I am so excited for the outpouring of love here in the city of Bothell.
Will came back, still drunk with joy. He blew out candles, hugged everybody,
It's a blast, mommy.
and had you been driving by from a distance, perhaps you would have noticed the gathering in the Arco parking lot. But how would you have known that it was a bunch of people remembering how good it feels to take part in another human being's happiness? Someone whose heart is pure and true.
Thank you so much for being here, guys. I love you. Bye.
So wasn't that just such a good story? I've seen it 100 times. I tear up every time. If you're tearing up, it's okay. Students in my classes tear up too when they watch it, but because it is such a good story, it brings you in, it captivates you. And if you notice, his writing was very conversational and very simple. He said things like, Becca pays Will a few bucks a day. Will came back still drunk with joy, just so happy and so overwhelmed. Becca noticed something that troubled her. So there were no big words, no long sentences. It was just a good story, well-written, conversational, and it just made you happy, right? So that is a little bit about why it's important to tell a good story, how to tell a good story. You guys can do this. It is so much fun to be a reporter and to be a journalist. We are always here to answer your questions at Troy University. If you need any help from us along the way, just let us know. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your J Day. Bye.